And we are back. We are back for the live breakdown. Yes, I paused the television. So we are back for the live breakdown. And let's continue. I think we have maybe just 20 minutes left or so. Live breakdown. Come on in, invite some people, invite your family. Even if you have already watched it live on television, we're still here. I paused it, so I'm a little behind, but then again, we're right on time. All right, come on in, invite some people. Make sure you DM this to at least 3 people. Click the little paper airplane there and send it to at least 3 to 5 people. Let's go ahead and let's see them check in on this live debate. Breakdown, just dropping facts. Minister Farrakhan has already told us what this is going to be like regardless. So at the end of the day, once again, Brother Riza Islam is not telling you to vote for Trump nor for Biden. All right? Not for Trump nor for Biden. However, you can vote for whoever you choose. Okay? I'm simply going to break down certain facts during this debate. That's all. I'm just breaking down certain facts on these debates right now. So don't get mad at me. We're about to go right back in. I'm not for Trump nor Biden. These are facts. Here we go. Bring some people in and let's go. You guys ready? You ready, fam? All right. We ready, fam? We ready? Here we go.
Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, let me give you just 15 seconds to respond because then I want to move on to...
Well, I'd love to respond. Look, lost the trade war with China. Joe Biden never fought it. Joe Biden has been a cheerleader for communist China through over the last several decades. and again, Senator Harris, you're entitled to your opinion. You're not entitled to your own facts. When Joe Biden was vice president, we lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs. And President Obama said they were never coming back. He said we needed a magic wand to bring them back. In our first 3 years after we cut taxes, rolled back regulation, unleashed American energy, this administration saw 500,000 manufacturing jobs created. And that's exactly the kind of growth we're going to continue to see as we bring our nation through this pandemic. The Green New Deal, your massive new mandates, your Paris Climate Accord, it's going to kill jobs this time just like it killed jobs.
Okay. All right, hold on a second. Mr. Pence. Mr. Pence. Not again, Mr. Pence. Okay, hold on. Before Miss Kamala responds, either way, this is hilarious. Miss Kamala's hilarious. Mr. Pence, they're both hilarious. He just stated, when she brought up Donald Trump losing the trade deal with China, he said in response, Joe Biden never fought it. Okay. Okay. What does that have to do? What does that have to do with anything? Okay, the point is, with these two, please let's just be very mindful to watch what they're talking about. China has agreements with America because America owes China so much. This is why almost everything that you are wearing in America says made in China. That's a part of the trade deal, the agreement deal, product deal. America's had these deals with China for years and years and years and years. So knock it off. This is why China has a little China in every major city in America. This is why most of these you have a lot of cars made from China. You'll have a lot of technology coming over here from China, from the phones to the game systems. You have a lot of things coming from China right here into America. This is why China owns a large number of seaports in America. Stop playing. Stop playing. That's all. It was just very interesting. Very interesting to hear him say that. Very interesting. So let's continue because I know Kamala's going to respond. Let's see what she's going to say. Hopefully she says something that is factual, but either way, we're going to break it down regardless.
Very briefly, 15 seconds and
Thank you. Thank you. Joe Biden is responsible for saving America's auto industry, and you voted against it. So let's set the record straight. Thank you.
I'd like to talk about China. We have, as our next topic,
all right, I'm not going to say anything on that one. But okay, let's continue.
have no more complicated or consequential foreign relationship than the one with China. It is a huge market for American agricultural goods. It's a potential partner in dealing with climate change in North Korea. And in a video tonight, President Trump again blamed it for the coronavirus, saying China will pay. Vice President Pence, how would you describe our fundamental relationship with China? Competitors, adversaries, enemies?
Be wise, Mr. Pence. Be wise.
Susan. Well, before I leave that, let me speak to voting records if I can. Everybody knows that NAFTA cost literally thousands of American factories to close.
Listen carefully.
We saw automotive jobs go south of the border. President Trump fought to renegotiate NAFTA.
Partially
the
correct.
United States-Mexico-Canada agreement is now the law of the land. American people deserve to know Senator Kamala Harris was one of only 10 members of the Senate to vote against the USMCA. It was a huge win for American auto workers. It was a huge win for American farmers, especially dairy in the upper Midwest. But Senator, you said it didn't go far enough on climate change, that you put your radical environmental agenda ahead of American auto workers and ahead of American jobs. And the American people deserve to know that. It's probably why Newsweek magazine said that Kamala Harris was the most liberal member of the United States Senate in 2019. More liberal than Bernie Sanders, more liberal than any of the...
Okay, so really quick, I hope we all understand. The question was, can you explain the relationship between America and China? Are we allies? Are we competition? Explain to us in 2 minutes without interruption. What is the relationship between America and China? He has not necessarily given virtually anything dealing with the relationship between America and China, but let me say this, we can all understand. America has had many agreements with China, some disagreements with China. But again, America does owe China certain amounts of money. Yes, America sold to China a large amount of the seaports. Yes, there are agreements dealing with food. There are agreements dealing with technology. There are agreements dealing with a number of things between America and China as of right now, including cheap labor for certain jobs that were sent over there to China, which is why a lot of products you see in America state made in China. Hell, you look at the bottom of your foot, it might say made in China. That's a joke. Please don't take me serious. Now, the point is with what he just said, on top of that, I'll say the leader in China does not necessarily like Muslims and refers to Islam pretty much as a dirty religious belief. And because of that, I don't necessarily have an agreement when it comes to that piece, when it comes to China. Right. But again, I'm not for Biden. I'm not for Trump. You can vote for whoever you choose. We're just breaking down the facts here. That's all we're doing. So the agreements between America and China, there's a lot of agreements between America and China, but he didn't explain what is the relationship. I would say it's a pretty much rocky up and down relationship. Sometimes China is cool. Other times America is cool. China doesn't like to bow to America. That's all. China does not like to bow to America, period. China doesn't want anyone to think that they are bowing to America. And America tends to want to make it look like China is bowing to them. That's, so it's really, these are two of the world powers here, two of the large world powers, ego driven, very much so. And that is a major issue. So there has to be a level of humility between each one, but there also has to be some atonement between both for different things, that are that are happening between the people. That there has to be some atonement. All right. Some apologies going on for negatives on both ends. But let's go ahead and keep watching. Again, I'm not for Biden or for Trump. I'm not for Pence or Ms. Harris, but we're just bringing down some of the things that they are saying here and just fact checking from the knowledge that we have.
In the United States Senate. So now with regard to China, look, Susan, first and foremost, China is to blame for the coronavirus. And President Trump...
I'm going to have to just pause you on that, young guy. Mr. Pence. Mr. Pence. All right, Mr. Pence. He just said China is to blame for the coronavirus. Okay, partially correct. Few factors. One, China partially, Wuhan, China, correct, partially to blame for the coronavirus. 2 laboratories in America as well, conjoined circumstance, as admitted and broken down by Dr. Judy Mikovits, who used to work under Dr. Fauci, and particularly in the area of AIDS when it came to Magic Johnson, and in the Ebola area where she was the one who was commissioned to weaponize Ebola, Dr. Judy Mikovits. These are things we have to understand. So it's America and China. America and China. And then above that, of course, God is using it for his purpose, which you don't have to agree. Fine. But I'm saying nothing happens without God's permission when it comes to this type of thing. So you just have to, let's just be real about it. But it's China and America. Stop with the nonsense, sir. Mr. Pence, that has been verified. Don't do that. Trying to just point over there at China. Y'all got to stop with that. Please stop with that. It is America and China to blame.
He's not happy about it. He's made that very clear. Made it clear again today. And China and the World Health Organization do not play straight with the American people. They did not let our personnel into China to get information on the coronavirus until the middle of February. Fortunately, President Trump, in dealing with China from the outset of this administration, standing up to China that had been taking advantage of America for decades in the wake of Joe Biden's cheerleading for China, President Trump made that decision before the end of January to suspend all travel from China. And again, the American people deserve to know Joe Biden opposed President Trump's decision to suspend all travel from China. He said it was hysterical. He said it was xenophobic. But President Trump has stood up to China. We're going to continue to stand strong.
Thank you, Vice President Pence.
We want to improve the relationship, but we're going to level the playing field. We're going to hold China accountable for what they did to America with the coronavirus.
Thank you.
Ooh.
Senator Harris, let me ask you the same question that I asked the Vice President. How would you describe our fundamental relationship with China? Are we competitors?
Let's see what she says.
Adversaries? Enemies? You'll have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Susan, the Trump administration's perspective and approach to China has resulted in the loss of American lives, American jobs, and America's standing. There is a weird obsession that President Trump has had with getting rid of whatever accomplishment was achieved by President Obama and Vice President Biden. For example, they created within the White House an office that basically was responsible for monitoring pandemic.
Okay, let's make this very clear. So far, Mr. Pence and Ms. Harris neither have answered the question. The question is, what is the relationship between China and America? Are we allies? Are we enemies? Are we friends? What are we? This is the question, and neither has answered the question. The world is watching. I wanted to make it very clear that that's the question. I don't want anyone to get lost. The question is, what is the relationship between China and America? Are we friends, allies? Are we enemies, etc.? Please. Neither one of them answered the question. So again, I'm not for Biden. I'm not for Trump. I'm not for Mr. Pence. I'm not for Kamala. You can vote for whoever you choose to vote for. I'm simply breaking down these facts from whatever knowledge we do have when it comes to the statements that they're making. That's all. That's all. But you can definitely vote for whoever you choose. I'm not going to tell you to vote, not to vote, or who to vote for. Do you think?
They got away. They got rid of it.
Not true.
There was a team of disease experts that
from Cuba?
President Obama and Vice President Biden dispatched to China.
From Cuba?
To monitor what is now predictable and what might happen. They pulled them out. We now are looking at 210,000 Americans who have lost their lives. Let's look at the job situation. We mentioned before the trade deal, the trade war, they wanted to call it, with China. It resulted in the loss of over 300 manufacturing jobs and a manufacturing recession. And the American consumer paying thousands of dollars more for goods because of that failed war that they called it. Then let's talk about standing. Pew, a reputable research firm, has done an analysis that shows that leaders of all of our formerly allied countries have now decided that they hold in greater esteem and respect Xi Jinping, the head of the Chinese Communist Party, than they do Donald Trump, the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief of the United States. This is where we are today because of a failure of leadership by this administration.
Senator Harris, we've seen changes in the role of the United...
Okay, 1 second. We're watching you. We're listening to Ms. Harris. We're listening to Mr. Pence. When it comes to you looking at who is going to be the commander-in-chief of your nation, exactly who it is that's going to be leading your nation, you want to know, what are you going to do? Why am I listening to you? And why should you have my vote? Why should you get my money? Why should I endorse you, etc.? What are you going to do for us, the people, that is different than what the previous administration has done? And so far, neither one of them have truly given that. They've never really demonstrated that. That's the problem right here. This is not working. Neither one of you are answering the questions. What they're doing is one of the very basics in debate, which is you smear the other person's credibility. And they're doing it live on television. They're trying to just go at each other's credibility rather than just providing what they're going to do. And that's all we care about. What are you going to do? Hell, even if you're lying, which both of them have done a lot of that tonight. Even if you're lying, what are you going to do? Mr. Pence, what you and Trump going to do? Tell us. Miss Harris, what you and Uncle Joe, not my uncle, but y'all call him Uncle Joe. What are you going to do for the people? No, you're not going to tell us that? Okay, so the smear campaign of one another's credibility right now is what they're doing. And what they don't realize is you're losing everybody, including the rest of the world. So I'm just making sure for those of us in this generation who don't know about politics, that's why y'all don't like politics, because it's a bunch of back and forth and you're not really hearing too much of the actual solution. What you going to do? What are you doing? Why does me, a black man in Compton, me, a young woman over here in this area, this state, this city, I have children, I don't, whatever. Why do I need to be listening to y'all? Why should I vote for you? Why should I give you my money? Why should I trust in you? Why should I believe in this administration? What are you doing? This is why we don't like politics. All right, let's go ahead and listen to Mr. Pence and Miss Harris to see what they're going to say next.
States.
Neither one of them answered the question regarding China's relationship with America, America's relationship with China. America's relationship with China has been rocky, up and down, up and down. It's been decent at certain times, horrible at others. Overall, that's from what I know based off of the different agreements, based off of the history. That's what I know. I don't know in full detail everything. I don't. But what I do know when it comes to the relationship between China and America, it has not been a beautiful relationship. It has been terrible in some ends, decent in others, combative in others, almost World War III-like in certain instances, like when America was going to go try to bomb, I believe it was Syria a couple years ago. But China and Russia have business agreements with Syria. So China and Russia brought their ships into the water, just as America was bringing her ships into the water when America was threatening to bomb Syria. And China and Russia said, bust a move. If you bust a move, you're going to set it off. Do you see what I'm saying? So the question, which is a very big question regarding one of the largest powers in the world, which is China. What is the relationship? The world wants to know, and China, is watching. So far, they ain't said nothing. I don't know why. Maybe they're scared. I don't know. Let's continue.
In terms of global leadership over the past 4 years. And of course, times do change. What's your definition? We've seen strains with China, of course, as the vice president mentioned. We've seen strains with our traditional allies in NATO and elsewhere. What is your definition of the role of American leadership in 2020?
Ooh, good question.
So, I love talking with Joe about a lot of these issues. And, Joe, I think he said it quite well. He says, foreign policy, it might sound complicated, but really it's relationships. So just think about it as relationships.
True.
And so we know this in our personal and professional relationships. You got to keep your word to your friends.
Interesting.
You got to be loyal to your friends. People who stood with you, got to stand with them.
Mm-hmm.
You got to know who your adversaries are.
Ooh.
Keep them in check.
Ooh.
But what we have seen with Donald Trump is that he has betrayed our friends and embraced dictators around the world.
Okay. Big red flag on the play. Boop, boop, flag on the play. 10 flags on the play. 1 second there. Not defending Trump. Let's just simply look at the facts on this one. Donald Trump is a bully. Hell yes. He is an open devil. Absolutely. Joe Biden is a covert devil while Trump is a overt devil. Donald Trump is the direct one in your face. Joe Biden is I'm a smile on your face, stab you in the back type of devil. I don't trust either one of them, but let's just be very, clear here. Yes, Donald Trump has moved certain agreements out of the way and he has made certain statements against certain leaders that America used to be friends with or that America currently is still friends with, etc. But he ain't been no punk. I can't lie about that. Trump ain't been no punk. He has absolutely said some things to some foreign leaders of other countries and he straight up just put it to their face and he hasn't been a punk. So I can't lie about that. Donald Trump has been a straight up, he been a bully. He been a straight up white man. He is the physical, but he is the great white hope of America. He's that great white hope. That's been Trump. All right. He ain't been no punk. He been calling people whatever, saying whatever he wants to say. And at times, hey, he's represented that part of America well, you could say in that instance of showing strength. I could say that showing strength as a racist white individual. Sure, he's done that. But when she said it is relationships and she brought up foreign agreements and foreign policy and we must keep people in check and we must stand with our allies. Okay, here's the major thing that we all need to understand. America has continually destroyed relationships, built relationships, but some of the relationships that she has never destroyed is, number one, the relationship with Israel, the Jewish state of Israel, which is not a legitimate state. Doesn't matter. I'm not in politics, but this is the actual fact. That place was stolen from the Palestinians by Caucasians who came down from parts of Europe when they were offered multiple countries to stay in Africa, but they chose to go to the Holy Land. That one place that they were forbidden to go to, they went, they took it, they stole it, in part by America, powers in Europe. They helped them to take that. So Israel receives over $8 billion every year from America. America's 100% for Israel. Now, other than Israel, I can't say all the other friends that America just 100% legitimately with completely. It has changed all the time. So yes, Trump in certain instances has showed strength, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's been correct. All right. I'll say that. Joe Biden hasn't necessarily showed much strength, period. But it doesn't mean he hasn't been correct in certain instances either. So again, I'm not for Trump, nor am I for Biden. We're just breaking down the facts and the statements of what it is that they're saying here. But America has never had really good friendships with foreign nations ever since the 13 colonies changed into the United States of America after the Articles of Confederation, when they broke away from England and broke away from certain European powers and established their own nation of their own. It has not been the same. It has not been perfect. It has not been any of that. It has been good agreements, bad agreements, no agreements, hatred, war, etc. It has ebbed and flowed. It has changed throughout history. I'm going to make that very clear. Let us continue.
Let's take, for example, Russia.
By the way, the question was dealing with what is American leadership in 2020? What does American leadership look like in 2020? This is the question. What does American leadership look like in 2020? Let's just make sure we understand what the question is. What does American leadership, mind you, the moderator is not talking about just for America. She's talking about for the world. What does American leadership look like in 2020? She still hasn't answered the question, but let's see if she does. Right now, she talked about China and things like that. Now she's about to talk about Russia. Okay, the question is, what does American leadership look like in 2020? The leadership of America, you may not realize this, that is rising, has black faces, black men and women, some Mexican men and women, some native men and women. The original people are now taking over the leadership in certain areas. I'm just saying, it's over 328 million people in America. Nearly 50 million of those 328 million people happen to be black folk. And in this country, a large number of the positions in leadership and in influence over the hearts and minds of the people happen to be some native people, some Mexican people, some black folks. This is just the truth. I'm just letting y'all know. So that's more so what it looks like. Now, I answered that question simply. I don't know what Kamala's doing, but let's see after she talks about Russia right now, if she will answer the question, what does American leadership look like in 2020?
So, Russia, I serve on the Intelligence Committee of the United States Senate. America's intelligence community told us Russia interfered in the election of the President of the United States in 2016 and is playing in 2020. Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, said the same. But Donald Trump, the commander-in-chief of the United States of America, prefers to take the word of Vladimir Putin over the word of the American intelligence community. You look at our friends at NATO. He's walked away from agreements. You can look at the Iran nuclear deal, which now has put us in a position where we are less safe because they are building up what might end up being a significant nuclear arsenal.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Another flag on the play. Lord have mercy. Miss Kamala. Okay. I'm not a Democrat, nor am I a Republican. I'm not for Trump, nor am I for Biden. Vote for whoever you choose. We are simply breaking down facts on both ends from what both of them are presenting. The security of the American people, I believe it is the Fifth Amendment to the United States Constitution, the right to privacy, to be secure within your papers, your persons, your homes, etc., from illegal searches and seizure. From my understanding, is something like that. Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution. The First Amendment is the freedom of religion, speech, press, petition, and or assembly. All of those have been destroyed. Let us make this very clear. After the 2001 9/11 attacks, you had something passed called the Patriot Act, the United States Patriot Act, by which they justified fighting against terrorism as a way to invade the privacy of all people in America. Number one. Number two, nuclear weapons If America chooses to have nuclear weapons, then does that not mean that every other nation, seeing how they're their own sovereign independent nation, don't they have the right to have their own nuclear weapons? Or does America only have the right to have nuclear weapons so that she can remain the king and the ruler or the Satan on the planet? If you get to have nukes, everybody else does too. And that's another issue that has been happening with America for a long time. They have policed other nations across the planet, but they don't want anyone to police them. So now she's talking about one of the world powers. This is Russia we're talking about here. They said Russia interfered with the election. I don't know that to be true. Let's be very clear here. America interferes in her own election. America lies about her own numbers. America lies and bribes people to bolster numbers and to impregnate numbers. This is what America does. The same thing happened with George Bush in Florida with the recount that didn't happen. The same thing that happens with people when it comes to every single state, how some of them misplace numbers, some of them don't count numbers. Oh, we forgot the extension cords to plug up the electric machines to count these voting stations. That happens with Democrats and Republicans every single 4 years for the presidency, and every year for other people in political office. It happens all the time. So that right there was not a true statement. And again, if America deserves to have nuclear weapons, other nations deserve to have their own too. That's another issue that we have to make sure we're getting through here. This is why they went over to Libya and tried to get Colonel Muammar Gaddafi to give over and give all of his nuclear weapons or whatever weapons he had, his gas, all of these different weapons, and give them to America. And he did. And once he did that, they destroyed him. They got him assassinated. They interfered in the politics, the political system, the media, etc., turned the people against him, made him look like a dictator, etc., because he was going to create a currency, not simply the Libyan dinar, but he was going to come together with the over 50 other countries in Africa to back its wealth on its own form of currency, establish its own satellites, its own banking system, everything. And that would have bankrupted every other major world power in the world, including America, China, and Russia, and Europe, and everyone would have to bow down to Africa's new form of currency. So to make it very clear, other nations deserve to have their own weapons so that they can protect themselves, nuclear and otherwise. So for her to say what she just said, no. And yes, Colonel Muammar Gaddafi was murdered under Obama's administration. Correct. I believe it was Hillary Clinton who made the final call, if not, etc. Yes, the point is it doesn't matter who sits in the seat of the presidency, whether if it's Obama or not. Get off of it. Get over it. Again, it doesn't matter who becomes president, whether Trump remains president. Doesn't matter. It is what it is. Some of you are saying get Trump out. Fine. Do your thing. Regardless of that fact, what she just said is not necessarily correct. The interfering in the voting, all of that, the nuclear weapons, please. Oh, please come on.
We were in that deal, guys. We were in the Iran nuclear deal with friends, with allies around the country. And because of Donald Trump's unilateral approach to foreign policy, coupled with his isolationism, he pulled us out and has made America less safe. So, Susan, it's about relationships. And the thing that has always been part
Through the passing of the United States Patriot Act, America was continually and perpetually unsafe because other nations would have access to America's information, all of its citizens' information, phone calls, text messages, emails, etc., etc., etc. This was admitted by Edward Snowden, the Caucasian male who used to work for the federal government in those areas of intelligence, and he is exiled and he is in asylum in Russia, in Moscow, to this very day, because he admitted exactly what it is that America was doing, putting the American people in danger because they could not have any sovereignty over their own bodies, their own information, etc., and other nations would be able to have access to that information. So let's make it very clear. America, for the vast majority, is responsible for that. And then, of course, if you make yourself vulnerable, other nations are looking at you regardless. This is the basics in warfare, basics in tactics, basics in intelligence, basics in how things happen when it comes to nations and warfare. So let's continue. Her statement is really not really a statement at all. They both have been doing this back and forth. I'm not for Trump, and I'm not for Biden. I'm not for Harris, nor am I for Pence. But I'm breaking down certain statements that are being done here just to break down the facts. That's all. That's all we're doing. You can vote for whoever you want to vote for. Whoever you choose to vote for, it is all up to you. We're just breaking down certain facts because while we're watching, the whole world is watching as well.
of the strength of our nation, in addition to our great military, has been that we keep our word. But Donald Trump doesn't understand that because he doesn't understand what it means to be honest.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice President, can somebody give me a chance to respond?
Well, thank you. Well, President Trump kept his word when we moved the American embassy to Jerusalem, the capital of the state of Israel.
No, sir.
When Joe Biden was vice president, they promised to do that, and they never did. We stood strong.
Moving the capital to Jerusalem was very disrespectful biblically and Quranically and historically. So Trump doing that was actually not necessarily a good thing at all. That's on the biblical side and the religious side. So you guys might want to study and research exactly the whole thing dealing with moving the capital of Palestine, Israel, etc., Jerusalem. Understand that whole thing. That's another deep thing, and that's a whole other topic that you should make sure you look at. Okay.
With our allies, but we've been demanding. NATO is now contributing more to our common defense than ever before, thanks to President Trump's leadership. We've strengthened our alliances across the Asia-Pacific, and we've stood strong against those who would do us harm. You know, when President Trump came into office, ISIS had captured an area of the Middle East the size of Pennsylvania. But President Trump unleashed the American military, and our armed forces destroyed the ISIS caliphate and took down their leader, al-Baghdadi, one American casualty. Al-Baghdadi was responsible for the death.
Mr. Pence. Oh, Lord, I hope he wouldn't have fallen into that trap. Mr. Pence just made a very bold statement. Okay, this is another area here. So far, Kamala, no points for you. Mr. Pence, no points for you. Okay, I'm going to say this really quick when it comes to facts. Again, vote for whoever you choose to vote for. But that right there, that he just said about we killed the leader of Al-Qaeda, ISIS, the same ISIS who has United States military tanks, same ISIS who has uniforms with the United States flag on it, the same ISIS that are not Muslims because they were all praying in 4 different directions at the same time. The same ISIS that does not attack Israel for some reason, but they attack everyone else. I'm trying to figure this out here. The same ISIS who was sponsored by the U.S. government, according to multiple individuals, former Marines, former CIA agents, former military, too many of them who have told all of the information, who have admitted all of this information regarding how ISIS was created by the United States government. And they say ISIS stands for, I believe, the Islamic State of Iran and Syria, ISIS and ISIL. They have these different names. But ISIS, according to former Marines, former U.S. Navy, former CIA agents, multiple, they state that ISIS stands for the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. That's what they say it stands for. So ISIS is actually a part of America. ISIS is a part of the CIA. Same thing with Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda, which was under, from my understanding, Osama bin Laden. And outside of that, you had other agreements between America. When it came to Osama bin Laden, they needed help to push out the Soviets from Afghanistan. So they had agreements with Osama bin Laden. We'll give you money. We'll give you information. We'll give you some weapons to push the Soviets out of Afghanistan because we want to have Afghanistan. So America had agreements with Osama bin Laden. He was a agent or working with America. And then all of a sudden, they went ahead and they demonized him, made it seem like he was a terrorist. They did the same thing with Saddam Hussein, who was good friends with the Bush family. Saddam Hussein was given the key to the city of Detroit. What are you talking about? You killed the leader of what terrorist organization? One that you partially helped to create, but because they, from my understanding, weren't necessarily going along with the agreements, just like Osama bin Laden no longer went with your agreements, just like Saddam Hussein turned on you because you weren't being fair with him either. All of a sudden, these are terrorists? No. What are you doing? Mr. Pence. Come on, Mr. Pence. All right, let's continue. No, sir.
Of thousands. But notably, America's hearts today are with the family of Kayla Mueller, the parents of which are here with us tonight in Salt Lake City.
Boy.
Today, 2 of the ISIS killers responsible for Kayla Mueller's murder
2 of the ISIS
were brought
killers.
to justice in the United States. Jihadi John was killed on the battlefield along with the other Beetle. The reality is that when Joe Biden was vice president, we had an opportunity to save Kayla Mueller. It breaks my heart to reflect on it, but the military came into the Oval Office, presented a plan. They said they knew where Kayla was. Baghdadi had held her for 18 months, abused her mercilessly before they killed her.
All right, let me just make this very clear. Yes. Some of these leaders in some of these Middle Eastern countries have absolutely done some horrible things to their own people. Some of them have not been reasonable and have not been favorable to some of their citizens. Absolutely. Some of these Middle Eastern countries have definitely violated human rights. Saudi Arabia happening to be one of the number ones. But at the same time, America, with the violation of human rights and all these things you're saying, Mr. Pence, America was getting cheap oil from Saudi Arabia while they were chopping off the heads of Christians in Saudi Arabia. You didn't care about them. Other countries in the Middle East that you have agreements with to get the oil and all this from. Minister Farrakhan brought all this out, and this has been out. This is public information. But a lot of the countries that they are criticizing in the Middle East are the same countries that they have business deals with for oil. Simultaneously, at the same time, while they're violating human rights, killing some of their own citizens, etc., gassing them, murdering them, chopping off their heads, etc., America has business agreements with them to get cheap oil. So what are you talking about? That was under Obama. That was under Clinton. That was under Bush, Senior and Junior. This is under Trump. Stop it. Just stop it. See, this is the problem. This is why people don't like politics. This is why people don't care whether you call yourself a Democrat or Republican. It does not matter. If you don't speak the truth, either one of you on both ends here, there is no trust in the political system. Again, I'm not voting for Trump. I'm not voting for Biden. You can vote for whoever you choose to vote for. It is perfectly up to you. We're simply breaking down the facts here. And thus far, we are not impressed and it is not fair. That's all I'm saying. So let's make sure we understand this. You might want to look up a former U.S. Marine by the name of Ken O'Keefe, who brought out all of this information because of how much hypocrisy he was seeing. He brought out all this information. Minister Farrakhan brought out all this information. This is not hidden information. This is public information. So let's make sure we're analyzing. But this little lion type of situation, Mr. Pence and Miss Harris, if y'all don't knock it off. All right, let's go. Let's continue.
But when Joe Biden was vice president, they hesitated for a month. And when armed forces finally went in, it was clear she'd been moved 2 days earlier. And her family says with a heart that broke the heart of every American that if President Donald Trump had been president, they believe Kayla would be alive today.
Thank you, Vice President.
All right, let's make it very clear. Again, Trump ain't no punk. And if Trump hears that there's some American women who are behind bars, etc., in a foreign nation, I have no doubt that he would do his best to dispatch army and military to go out there and retrieve those women. I would say if they were white, more than likely that's when he'll do it. Same thing with Bush. I'm sure, yeah, like they did it. I'm sure. But America has invaded so many nations, so many countries, has killed so many people on foreign soil, has done so much evil to so many other nations to where the level of hypocrisy, this is where we should have some humility right here. I'm waiting for one of them to admit that America has killed so many people in so many other nations, including the millions of Muslims after 9/11, because people were justifying the murder and saying that it was Afghanistan and it was Iraq and it was this. You all Muslims are the terrorists because of 19 hijackers that no one knew about until within the last 24 hours, all of a sudden, and they hijacked 3 planes with box cutters. Please knock it off. 9/11 there's so much going on, but America is not against killing her own people to justify the invasions of foreign nations. America's not against that. America's done it plenty of times. America has murdered its own citizens, blamed it on another nation so that they would have the reason to go and justify and go and kill others in another nation just so they can have access to the oil and to the mineral resources. This is absolutely actual fact. Minister Farrakhan brought it out. Many researchers brought it out. Tons of soldiers who came back from Iraq, from Afghanistan, from all over the Middle East came back and said they were ordered to kill women. They were ordered to kill children. They would be given more money if they were to kill certain innocent people. They would be given cars and bonuses if they were to kill innocent women, innocent children, innocent people. Tons of soldiers have come back and said this. Watch the interviews with soldiers. There are tons of soldiers against wars. And they said, I was told in order to kill this woman by my captain. He told me, if you don't kill her, I'm going to kill her and you're going to be sent back. And he was ordered to kill. Ken O'Keefe is one of them. Couldn't believe what they were ordered to do. He said, these aren't terrorists. These are children. These are women scared in their homes, praying to Allah, praying, oh Allah, please, praying to God. So stop. This is where humility should come in. I'm praying Kamala says something like, well, you know what? We have done some horrible things too. America has killed people too. We have. We have to look at it on both ends. Stop just talking about them. Oh, what they do in their country. Hold up, player. We getting murdered in America right now. So I can't really focus over there and say, oh, look what they're doing to their people. Look what America's doing to her own people. So stop it. Stop it. All right, let's just stop it.
Destroy the ISIS caliphate. And you talk about re-entering the Iran nuclear deal. I mean, the last administration transferred $1.8 billion to the leading state sponsor of terrorism. President Donald Trump got us out of the deal.
Thank you, Vice President Pence.
And when Qasem Soleimani was traveling to Baghdad to do harm to Americans, President Donald Trump took
Thank you, Vice
out.
President Pence.
And America is safer. Our allies are safer. And the American people.
Boy, Mr. Pence. Mr. Pence. Okay, Alabama. Okay, just General Soleimani. Middle East, I believe it was Iran. General Soleimani. Go in YouTube after this is done. Make sure you write this down in your notes. Go on YouTube, Minister Farrakhan speaking about Soleimani and America murdering the general. Make sure you go and get the facts about that general. Make sure you do that. Because the moment you understand, I don't trust America's media to tell me about foreign leaders, foreign generals, I don't trust America to tell me the truth about that. I really don't, to be honest with you. But I do my best to make sure I get the facts from their media. There is a such thing as Iranian news media. And you can see the subtitles where it's being translated. Go watch Minister Farrakhan speaking at Savior's Day this year, where he was speaking about General Soleimani and about what America did, etc., so that they can stop with this lie talking about, oh, the American people are so much safer. Black folks getting murdered every day in America. They ain't got nothing to do with no Iranian general. Stop it. Mexicans getting murdered out here right now. They ain't got nothing to do with no Iranian general. Poor white people. Some of y'all getting murdered out here in America right now has nothing to do with no Iranian general. Stop it. Stop it and stop it. America's afraid of somebody doing to her what she has done to others. That's the truth. That's what Minister Farrakhan has said. That's what all of our leaders keep saying. America is afraid of get back, afraid of reaping what she has sown. That's what America's afraid of. That's what one of them should say. Just say it. Mr. Pence, Miss Harris. Let's continue.
No.
Again, I'm not for Trump, and I'm not for Biden. I'm not for Harris, nor am I for Pence. I'm simply breaking down the facts between each one, all the statements that they're saying. You can vote for whomever you choose. I want to make sure I just keep saying that, because some of you may not read right here at the bottom that I pinned it. I am not for Trump nor Biden. These are just facts. That's all I'm doing right now. All right. I'm just breaking down the facts. But again, vote for whoever you choose. Vote for whoever you choose. Let's continue.
President Donald Trump will never
Thank you, Vice President.
take action.
I would like to give Senator Harris a chance to respond, but not at such great length, because, of course, there are other topics we want to talk
But
about.
I would like equal time.
Yes,
Thank you.
please go ahead.
First of all, to the Mueller family, I know about your daughter's case, and I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. What happened to her is awful, and it should have never happened. And I know Joe feels the same way. And I know that President Obama feels the same way. But you meant...
One second. We're talking about the lady who, the circumstance that happened, dealing with the foreign nation in America, etc., and her dying, all of that, etc. Okay, I want to make it very clear. Watch and listen to the amount of care that they have demonstrated for this individual during the time of election. But when it comes to us being murdered, etc., when we bring it up, the number one thing they do is they deflect or they justify our murder first. First thing we do. We start talking about America, right, as a nation. First thing they do is they justify it. So I want to make sure that we get this through our head as of right now, but make it very clear that this is a show right now, because I'm still waiting for them to either answer the question, be humble, and really talk about some real things for the people. But the first thing that they do when it comes to us being murdered is they justify it. They do not show that care that they did as an audition to try to go and get into the hearts and minds of the people. And Pence cares so much about us, and Trump cares, Biden cares so much, Harris cares so. I'm not for Biden. I'm not for Trump. I'm not for Harris. I'm not for Pence. I'm just breaking down some of these facts. Vote for whomever you choose. Let's continue.
Soleimani. Let's start there. So after the strike on Soleimani, there was a counter strike on our troops in Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
And they suffered serious brain injuries. And do you know what Donald Trump dismissed them as? Headaches. And this is about a pattern of Donald Trump.
Yeah, he did say that. Okay.
Where he has referred to our men who are serving in our military as suckers and losers. Donald Trump, who went to Arlington Cemetery and stood above the graves of our fallen heroes and said, what's in it for them? Because, of course, he only thinks about what's in it for him. Let's take what he said about John McCain, a great American hero.
Mm-hmm.
And Donald Trump says he doesn't deserve to be called a hero because he was a prisoner of war.
He did say that about.
And this is very
did say that.
important when you want to talk about who is the current commander-in-chief and what they care about and what they don't care about.
All right, let me just pause it one here. I'm going to pause it 1 second for a moment there. John McCain, yes, the war hero. Yes, he went to multiple wars. He is a former veteran, etc., a former military officer. Yes, John McCain did go to war. Donald Trump did trivialize him and what he did going to war. Donald Trump is a draft dodger. What that means is when the draft came, Donald Trump was dodging it. Donald Trump didn't want to go to war. He didn't want to go and be deployed at all. So for him to criticize the military, it's pretty ridiculous, just period. On one hand, he criticized the military. On another hand, he uplifted the military. But let's make this very clear. None of y'all care about the military veterans. None of them. None of them. None of them. Why is that true, Reza? What is the facts on that, Reza? Let me make it very clear. To this very day, an estimated 22 veterans are killing themselves and committing suicide every day. An estimated 22 veterans are committing suicide every day. They are being put on an entire rate and mixture and concoction of mind-altering, genetically altering, mind-altering, psychotropic drugs, upon which the majority of side effects for almost every single one of these drugs is suicidal thoughts and tendencies, homicidal thoughts and tendencies, and they are enhancing the likelihood of them committing suicide. Also, they are not being given good health care. They are not being treated fairly as people who fought for this nation, even though the majority of them went and they were killing innocent men, women, and children. They went to fight for what they thought was democracy. They went to fight for what they thought was freedom. They went to fight for what they thought was to spread the beauty of America and to fight against terrorism and people who they were told were coming to kill Americans. And what they were there for was really to spread America's form of democracy, to gain access to minerals and valuables and precious metals, etc., etc. This has been admitted by multiple former U.S. military officers from the Marines, from the U.S. Army, from the Navy. Just YouTube it. YouTube tons of interviews from former military officers, and they will tell you, I was sent to do this. I wasn't sent to do what they said it was. I was sent to do a lot of things that were horrible that I completely did not agree with. America does not give a damn about her veterans. Period. Donald Trump or otherwise. Doesn't matter what the president is. So far, these veterans have been committing suicide. They have not been given good medical care, health care. They have not been treated fairly when it comes to housing. They have not. And this is just the actual facts. This has been for a very long time. Once you sign up into the military, you are property. And therefore, whatever happens to your body, it is considered damage of property. You're not a human being when you sign up and go into the military. And some of you who are watching right now, you have been in the military. Some of you have family in the military. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Once you become a veteran, once you become damaged goods, damaged property, when you go to war or when you're deployed in one of these military bases that America has all across the planet, which is well over 800 military bases in foreign nations, if you are damaged, you come back and you are not treated as a person who fought for America. You're not treated that way. For the majority, they are not. So I want to make that very clear for her statement and for his statement. America has never really cared about the veterans, especially not the black ones who went and fought for America's freedoms and came back and couldn't even get a bite to damn eat at a restaurant because they told them we don't serve niggas in here. While they were wearing the uniform, when they came back from the war and won, they were still treated like slaves. So from all the way back then in the 30s, 40s, 50s, all the way up until right now, America does not care about its veterans. Let's continue.
Public reporting that Russia had bounties on the heads of American soldiers. And you know what a bounty is? It's somebody puts a price on your head and they will pay it if you are killed. And Donald Trump had talked at least 6 times to Vladimir Putin and never brought up the subject. Joe Biden would never do that.
Thank you.
Joe Biden would hold Russia to account for any threat to our nation's security or to our troops who are sacrificing their lives for the sake of our democracy and our safety.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to pause right there, too. Donald Trump ain't been no punk entirely. From what I've noticed, again, I'm not voting for Trump. I'm not voting for Biden. I'm not for either one of them. I'm simply breaking down facts per their statements, and you can vote for whomever you choose. Donald Trump, from what I've noticed, hasn't really been a punk when it came to foreign nationals and foreign leaders, etc., circumstances. He hasn't really been a punk, from my understanding. Joe Biden, I haven't necessarily seen him talking too much about foreign representatives and leadership, etc., what they've done. I've heard him a little bit talk about, we're going to crack down on that and we're going to stop these terrorists. I've heard both of them say certain things like that. But let me bring your attention to what she just said about when she said Russia had a bounty on U.S. soldiers' heads, etc. In my book, link in the bio, link in the bio, link in the bio, I put in here public information, some of the foreign assassinations of foreign leaders by America's CIA. Some of the assassinations or some of the assassination attempts on foreign leaders by American CIA operatives. Public information. This is not something hidden, but it's in this book as well. Link in the bio, link in the bio. So when she said Russia put a bounty on American soldiers, America put a bounty on foreign leaders, not just soldiers, but the leaders of nations. America's put a bounty on their head. America's done that. This is admitted in a book. I believe the book is titled None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen and Larry Abraham. In that book, it talked about how they assassinate foreign leaders and how they take over entire nations in order to have access to their wealth, access to their gold, access to their diamonds, access to their oil, their coltan like the Congo, access to all of the things that would help to make money for nations. That's what they do. So when you talking about someone, Russia had a bounty on some of American soldiers' heads, America has had bounties on foreign leaders' heads. Let's please stop.
Senator Harris, this is such an important issue, but we have other important issues as well, and I want to make sure we have a chance.
I really have to respond to that. Look, she has
15 seconds because
I got to have
trying
more
to
than
keep.
that. Look,
I'm sorry, Vice President,
look,
but you've had more time than she's had so far.
Slanders against President Donald Trump regarding men and women of our armed forces are absurd.
I'm sorry, Vice
My
President.
son is a captain in the United States Marine Corps. My son-in-law is deployed in the United States Navy. I can assure all of you, with sons and daughters serving in our military, President Donald Trump not only respects but reveres all of those who serve in our armed forces, and any suggestion otherwise is ridiculous.
Trump he was not always respectful for people in the military. He was not always respectful when it came to people serving, when it came to veterans, when it came to people who went to war. He was not always respectful. That is not true. That is not a true statement. Maybe he is now, and maybe he has been recently. I've noticed he has changed his tone and he has shown respect. He has, of course, multiple times, but I'm just to be factual, he has not shown respect all the time. None of these presidents really have entirely, because you wouldn't send someone to a war based on a lie just to let them die for oil and for diamonds and for precious metals. So no president who has sent people off when they knowingly knew that they were really sending them off to die for other vested interests, for vested interest groups in international banking, expansion, etc., has cared about the veterans or the soldiers. So let's really look at the real truth about all of it. But yeah, sure. Trump has shown some care recently. He has shown some. All right. So that's the facts, but he has not always.
Thank you, Vice President Pence.
The American people deserve, Susan, the American people deserve to know.
Vice President Pence, I did not, excuse me,
Susan,
I did not create the rules for tonight.
Joe Biden.
Your campaigns agreed to the rules for tonight's debate with the Commission on Presidential Debates. I'm here to enforce them. which involves moving from one topic to another, giving roughly equal time to both of you, which is what I'm trying very hard to do.
Go right ahead.
So I want to go ahead and move to the next topic, which is an important one, as the last topic was, and that is the Supreme Court.
Uh-oh.
On Monday, the Senate Judiciary Committee is scheduled to open hearings on Amy Coney Barrett's nomination to the Supreme Court. Senator Harris, you'll be there as a member of the committee. Her confirmation would cement the court's conservative majority and make it likely open to more abortion restrictions, even to overturning the landmark Roe v. Wade ruling. Ooh. Access to abortion would then be up to the states.
Listen.
Vice President Pence, you're the former governor of Indiana. If Roe v. Wade is overturned, what would you want Indiana to do? Would you want your home state to ban all abortions? You have 2 minutes, uninterrupted.
Well, thank you for the question, but I'll use a little bit of my time to respond to that very important issue before. American people deserve to know Qasem Soleimani, the Iranian general, was responsible for the death of hundreds of American service members. When the opportunity came, we saw him headed to Baghdad to kill more Americans. President Trump didn't hesitate, and Qasem Soleimani is gone. But you deserve to know that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris actually criticized the decision to take out Qasem Soleimani. It's really inexplicable, but with regard to Joe Biden, it's explainable. Because history records that Joe Biden actually opposed the raid against Osama bin Laden. It's absolutely essential that we have a commander-in-chief who will not hesitate to act to protect American lives and to protect American service members, and that's what you have in President Donald Trump. Now, with regard to the Supreme...
Okay, had to pause that for a second here. Mr. Pence! Man, it's getting late. It is getting late, Mr. Pence. Okay, I had to stop there 1 second here. Every time they are running for the presidency, one of the tactics is they always want to bring up the successful neutralizations of foreign terrorists who were coming to invade America and kill America. Oh, they killed American soldiers. Oh, killer. Let's not mention the over, 1 million people we've murdered. Let's not mention in the Middle East. You murdered people in Iran. America, you murder people in Iraq. America, you murder people in Afghanistan. America, you murder people all across the damn Middle East. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Now, just wanted to make that very clear. Also, they bring up Osama bin Laden. They bring up Saddam Hussein. As we said earlier, Osama bin Laden. In my book, we touch on Osama bin Laden. We touch on Saddam Hussein. We touch on some of that. Link in the bio, link in the bio, link in the bio. Saddam Hussein was a very good friend of the Bush family. Saddam Hussein was given the key to the city of Detroit. Detroit in Michigan. Michigan in America. Osama bin Laden was working with Hillary Clinton. Osama bin Laden was working with the United States government, specifically the United States government, when they needed help to push the Soviet Union, the Russians, out of Afghanistan. So America worked with Osama bin Laden to accomplish that. What are you talking about? So you're trying to make it seem as though Osama bin Laden is a terrorist? Really? What was he when you were working with him? He was an ally. He was a friend. Saddam Hussein, you try to make it seem as though he was a terrorist, even though America gave them either $80 million or $80 billion, Saddam Hussein, to build him into a military power. Was he a terrorist then, or was he a friend? Was he an ally? Please stop, Mr. Pence. Please stop, Mrs. Harris. This right here, Miss Harris. This stuff right here, this is nonsense. Now he's talking about the Supreme Court, which was the actual question. Let's see if he's going to address that.
Supreme Court of the United States. Let me say, President Trump and I could not be more enthusiastic about the opportunity to see Judge Amy Coney Barrett become Justice Amy Coney Barrett. Now, she's a brilliant woman, and she will bring a lifetime of experience and a sizable American family to the Supreme Court of the United States. And our hope is, in the hearing next week, unlike Justice Kavanaugh received with treatment from you and others, we hope she gets a fair hearing. And we particularly hope that we don't see the kind of attacks on her Christian faith that we saw before. The Democrat chairman of the Judiciary Committee before, when Judge Barrett was being confirmed for the Court of Appeals, expressed concern that the dogma of her faith lived loudly in her. Dick Durbin of Illinois said that it was a concern Senator, I know one of our judicial nominees you actually attacked because they were a member of the Catholic Knights of Columbus, just because the Knights of Columbus holds pro-life views. And
Thank you, Vice President.
So
Your
my
time
hope
All
is
right.
that when they
I'm going to go into part 3. The video's about to cut off. I'm going to go live for the last few minutes of this. We're going to go into Roe v. Wade. We're going to go into abortion. And the real reason behind the circumstance dealing with abortion is protecting the white gene from not going extinct. Let's go to part 3. I'm going to end it now.